Article 225.7 of the National Electrical Code addresses lighting equipment installed outdoors. Specifically, it outlines regulations concerning the placement of luminaires operating at voltages exceeding 120 volts but not exceeding 277 volts to ground. The phrase "and the like" in Article 225.7 of the National Electrical Code is intended to encompass similar locations or structures where installing 277-volt lighting fixtures within 900 mm, approximately 3 feet, of potential egress points would be unsafe. These locations can include balconies, patios, loading docks, and driveways. The National Electrical Code states that 277-volt lighting fixtures cannot be installed over doorways that might open to the outside if they are less than 3 feet from the doorway. This restriction is in place because doorways serve as potential egress points during emergencies. Placing a high-voltage fixture nearby could pose a hazard to individuals exiting the building. While many security lights are wired at 277 volts, they often comply with the code because they are typically mounted higher than 3 feet from the ground or any potential egress point. Additionally, these lights frequently use directional optics to focus the light away from windows and other areas where it could create a hazard. However, some exceptions exist. Firstly, luminaires installed on poles or other structures at least 4.5 meters, approximately 15 feet, above the ground are exempt. Secondly, luminaires used for sports lighting and protected by a wire mesh or other suitable guard are also exempt. In summary, 277-volt lighting fixtures generally cannot be installed less than 3 feet from doorways or other potential egress points in outdoor areas. However, exceptions exist for luminaires mounted high above the ground or used for sports lighting with appropriate protection. Always consult the latest version of the National Electrical Code in local regulations for specific requirements. It's also important to consider the specific application and environment when planning outdoor lighting installations to ensure safety and compliance. Remember that the interpretation and application of the National Electrical Code can vary, so consulting with a qualified electrical inspector or engineer is always recommended. They can provide guidance based on the specific details of your project and the local regulations in your area. Considering different scenarios is beneficial for understanding the practical application of Article 225.7. Imagine a situation where an industrial building has a doorway leading directly to a parking lot. If a 277-volt luminaire is mounted directly above the doorway at a height of only 2 feet, this would violate the code because it's within 3 feet of a potential egress point. Conversely, if the same luminaire is mounted 16 feet above the ground on a pole next to the doorway, it would likely be compliant due to the exception for luminaires mounted at least 15 feet above the ground. Another example could involve a school building with a fire escape platform adjacent to a window. If a 277-volt luminaire is installed in the building's wall less than 3 feet from the fire escape platform, this would violate the code. The "and the like" phrase would include the fire escape platform as a similar potential egress point. To ensure compliance, the luminaire would need to be moved further away or replaced with a lower voltage option. When evaluating an existing installation or planning a new one, it's crucial to measure the distance from the luminaire to any potential egress point accurately. Use a tape measure to determine the shortest distance between the luminaire and the edge of the doorway, platform, or other relevant structure. If the distance is less than 3 feet, the installation may not comply with the code. In situations where compliance with the 3-foot rule is challenging, consider alternative lighting solutions. One option is to use 120-volt luminaires instead of 277-volt luminaires. Another option is to relocate the luminaire to a position that is further away from any potential egress point. If neither of these options is feasible, you may need to seek a variance or exception from the local electrical inspector. However, obtaining a variance is not guaranteed, and it's best to explore all other possibilities first. It is also important to note that the National Electrical Code is updated regularly, typically every 3 years. Therefore, it is essential to use the latest version of the code to ensure compliance. Consult with a qualified electrician or electrical engineer to determine which version of the code is applicable in your area. Furthermore, local jurisdictions may have additional requirements or amendments to the National Electrical Code. These local regulations may be more stringent than the national code, so it's crucial to be aware of them. Contact your local building department or electrical inspector to learn about any local amendments that may apply to your project. Consider the specific characteristics of the luminaire itself. Luminaires with shielded or recessed lamps may be considered safer than those with exposed lamps. The type of lens or diffuser used can also affect the amount of glare produced by the luminaire. Reducing glare can improve visibility and safety, especially near potential egress points. Always select luminaires that are appropriate for the intended application and environment. For outdoor applications, choose luminaires that are rated for wet locations and are resistant to corrosion and other environmental factors. Proper installation is also essential for ensuring the safety and compliance of outdoor lighting systems. Follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully when installing luminaires. Use appropriate wiring methods and connectors to protect against moisture and damage. Ground all luminaires properly to minimize the risk of electrical shock. Regular maintenance is also important for keeping outdoor lighting systems in good working order. Inspect luminaires periodically for damage or wear. Replace any damaged or worn parts promptly. Clean luminaires regularly to remove dirt and debris that can reduce light output. By following these guidelines, you can ensure that your outdoor lighting systems are safe, compliant, and efficient. Remember that the National Electrical Code is a complex document, and it's always best to consult with a qualified professional if you have any questions or concerns. A qualified electrician or electrical engineer can help you to understand the code and apply it correctly to your specific situation. They can also help you to select appropriate luminaires, design your lighting system, and install it safely and in compliance with all applicable regulations. In addition to Article 225.7, there are other sections of the National Electrical Code that may be relevant to outdoor lighting installations. For example, Article 210 covers branch circuits, and Article 410 covers luminaires, lamp holders, and lamps. It's important to be familiar with all applicable sections of the code to ensure that your installation is safe and compliant. Consider the impact of your lighting on the surrounding environment. Excessive light pollution can disrupt wildlife and reduce visibility of the night sky. Use shielded luminaires that direct light downward to minimize light trespass. Choose luminaires with adjustable brightness settings to reduce light output when it's not needed. Consider using motion sensors or timers to turn off lights when they are not in use. By taking these steps, you can reduce the environmental impact of your lighting while still providing adequate illumination. Think about the color temperature of the light produced by your luminaires. Warmer color temperatures, such as 2700 Kelvin to 3000 Kelvin, are generally more comfortable and inviting than cooler color temperatures. Cooler color temperatures, such as 4000 Kelvin to 5000 Kelvin, can appear harsh and sterile. Choose color temperatures that are appropriate for the intended application and environment. Also consider the color rendering index, which measures how accurately a light source renders colors. Higher color rendering index values indicate more accurate color rendering. For applications where accurate color rendering is important, such as retail displays or art galleries, choose luminaires with high color rendering index values. When selecting luminaires, consider their energy efficiency. Look for luminaires that are Energy Star certified or that use LED lamps. LED lamps are much more energy efficient than traditional incandescent or halogen lamps. They also have a much longer lifespan, which can save you money on replacement costs. Choose luminaires that are designed for optimal energy efficiency. Consider using dimming controls to reduce light output and save energy when full brightness is not needed. Also, consider using occupancy sensors to turn off lights automatically when no one is present. Furthermore, think about the aesthetics of your lighting installation. Choose luminaires that are visually appealing and that complement the architecture of the building. Consider the size, shape, and finish of the luminaires. Also, consider the placement of the luminaires to create a balanced and harmonious lighting design. A well-designed lighting system can enhance the beauty and functionality of a building. Ensure that your lighting system provides adequate illumination for the intended tasks. Measure the light levels in different areas to ensure that they meet the recommended levels for the specific activities that will be performed in those areas. Use a light meter to measure the light levels accurately. Adjust the lighting levels as needed to provide optimal visibility and safety. Always prioritize safety when planning and installing outdoor lighting systems. Ensure that all electrical work is performed by qualified professionals. Follow all applicable codes and regulations. Use appropriate safety equipment such as gloves, eye protection, and insulated tools. Test the lighting system thoroughly after installation to ensure that it is working properly. By following these safety precautions, you can minimize the risk of accidents and injuries. The information provided in this narration is for general guidance only and should not be considered a substitute for professional advice. Always consult with a qualified electrician or electrical engineer before undertaking any electrical work. They can provide you with specific recommendations based on your individual circumstances. The National Electrical Code is a complex document that is subject to change, so it's important to stay up to date on the latest requirements. By taking the time to learn about the code and follow its guidelines, you can ensure that your outdoor lighting systems are safe, compliant, and efficient. Remember to always prioritize safety and consult with qualified professionals when needed.